Our Greatest Fear by Marianne Williamson. Our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our greatest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. It is not in just some of us. It is in everyone. And as we let our light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Hi, I'm Jessica Disbrow, licensed social worker and registered psychotherapist here in the state of Colorado. I'm also the owner and primary therapist of Higher Consciousness Healing. We offer mental health services in Lakewood, Colorado for youth and adults. We also offer a live video session, here it is, on Facebook every Saturday at 10 a.m., where we talk about different mental health topics from a spiritual and scientific perspective. So, thank you for joining us. I'm really excited you're here. Today we're going to talk about what it means to love ourselves. So, a quick announcement before I get started. I do want to make this interactive, so if you have questions or comments during the show, definitely please make sure to speak up. And if you want to hold it to the end, that's also fine, but there is a little bit of a delay depending on where you're tuning in from. So it'd be really great if you ask those during, but I will be answering more extensive questions at the end. So let's get started. So learning to love ourselves. What does that really mean? I'm sure you've heard that saying, you have to learn to love yourself before you can love anyone else. You know, and I heard that when I was younger, and I was just like, that's lame. I felt like I was really loving people as best as I could, you know, and that was the case. But because I didn't fully love myself, you know, as a lot of us do, because we just kind of have that tendency, because it's, again, kind of wired into our brain, it wasn't as full and encompassing as what real unconditional love is. And so it took me a while to find that on my own terms. But I think that's the thing, is we don't fully understand what it means to receive unconditional love because we haven't been giving it to ourselves, basically. Because it's kind of like describing something that someone has never experienced. Like, let's say I meet someone and they've never had an apple before. I try and explain what an apple tastes like, smells like, etc., but it's not the same as actually biting into that apple. So what we need to do basically is we need to learn how to give ourselves that unconditional love so we fully understand what that means and all of the very deep ways and, you know, subtle nuances that all of that embodies. So why is it so hard to love ourselves? Well, it's a few different things. You know, first off, our brain is wired to look for problems. As we've discussed in previous episodes, our brain is really wired for survival. That limbic system, the reptilian evolved part of our mind, and our lower consciousness, that part area back here of the brain. It's constantly on alert. It's constantly looking for problems because it's trying to survive. We're trying to survive. It makes sense. But when we're constantly looking for problems in our day-to-day lives, well, guess what? We're going to find them because our brain is really clever and it can convince us that these problems seem really reasonable and rational and completely valid, you know, especially when we're basing it on our past experiences. Like, let's say someone's had a traumatic event and someone dies in a car accident, then that person might feel like it's reasonable the next time their loved one doesn't come home on time that maybe they got into a car accident, because that seems reasonable. But really, that's just not how things work. Those instances where someone is taken from us, God is part of the plan with all of that. And it is about taking faith in those moments. Anyway, so it becomes difficult to love ourselves because of our brain and our past programming, so our experiences. Along with that is the negative messages that we've gotten throughout different points of our life, growing up, from other people, from society, and that really informs our ability or inability to love ourselves and really love other people as well. So it's really about fully accepting yourself where you're at, because that is what unconditional love means. Fully accepting yourself and loving yourself past all of your flaws and all of the things that you think you're doing wrong. Because in God's eyes, you are perfect. You really, really are. And we're all just doing our best here. And so the more we can be kind to ourselves, the more we can give ourselves that self-love, the better. My suggestion to you all is that you reframe how you think about your relationship with yourself. So we're pretty hard on ourselves. We have what Freud called our superego, and that's really not to confuse you with the ego that I've been talking about. That's a little bit of a different kind of ego, which I will define the differences in another episode. But I do think Freud's point of the superego is really important because it is the super self-critical voice that we have in our heads, and some people's voice is a lot louder than other people's. So for the people who have the super self-critical voice, loving ourselves is going to be really challenging. However, this is a process. Things will get better, especially if you decide to move forward with the skills and information that I'm teaching, on your own terms. I think it could really improve your life and the lives of the people around you. So next week, I'm going to be talking about more techniques around self-love. So how we can kind of reprogram our brain so we can love ourselves more deeply, more fully, more unconditionally, where we're really loving in any condition, no matter how upset we are, no matter what's going on. I just think it's so important, and it really is key to having and living a peaceful life. So be in a relationship with yourself. Treat yourself how you want to be treated. Really think about the things that you need for yourself. How do you want to be treated when you get home from work? Like, what kinds of things would you like to have seen done? If you live alone and you really wish that dinner was on the table when you got home so you didn't have to cook, why don't you buy a crock pot and crock pot something? There's ways around these self-care things when we don't have someone else to help care for us, because intimate relationships, you do end up caring for each other to some extent. But what's more important is building in that self-care for yourself, that self-love for yourself, and really taking care of yourself. You've had a long day, take a bath. If you can afford it, treat yourself to something that makes you really happy and brings you joy and peace. Really give yourself that love. So that wraps up today's show. Next week, more self-love techniques I'm really excited to share with you all. So I'm going to just make a few announcements. Right now would be a great time to ask any questions that you have. I haven't seen any pop up so far, but I'm definitely interested to hear your questions or comments. So a few announcements while we're waiting for those to pop up, if there are any. The notification settings. So I am posting things during the week, resources, articles, short videos. I'm never going to post anything too extensive, with the exception of the book recommendations, because if you decide to buy a book, that is a little bit more of a commitment. But as far as the articles and videos, they'll be pretty short. And I think they're all really relevant to the topics that I'm discussing, on Saturday. So today we're talking about self-love. So during the week, I'll post again, book recommendations, articles, videos, that kind of thing for you all to enjoy. And please, while you're here, definitely look back at old posts too. I have posted quite a few great resources over the last couple weeks that I think may be really resonating with some of you. All right, so next week I'm out of town. So this is going to happen occasionally. I will try and bring my live stream with me when I can. However, there are going to be occasions where I won't have cell phone service because I am a bit of an adventurer and I go off the grid sometimes. So next week is going to be a pre-recorded show. It's going to pop up at 10 a.m. just like this does on Saturday, Mountain Standard Time, and it will be explaining different self-love techniques. So definitely grab a pen and paper for that. I think it will be really helpful. And then I'll be joining you guys the weekend after. So I still haven't seen any other questions. I think I just answered the only one I have, saying that yes, I'm going to continue doing these live shows every Saturday, until things change, I guess, until I don't want to, or until. So I'm really excited to have you all here. It's been amazing, and I really hope that we can continue this journey together. Please feel free to leave comments about the video. I always want to be improving because this really is for you, and it is a joint process. So thank you all so much, and I'll see you in 2 weeks, but don't forget to tune in next week on Saturday at 10 a.m. Thanks a lot, guys.